Mary Bell is a notorious figure in British criminal history, known for being one of the youngest convicted murderers in the UK. Full name Mary Flora Bell, date of birth May the 26th, 1957, location Newcastle upon Tyne. Crimes committed in 1968 at the age of 11, Mary Bell was convicted of manslaughter for killing two young boys, Martin Brown, age 4, and Brian Howe, age 3. Mary Bell grew up in Scotswood, a working-class district in Newcastle upon Tyne. Her home environment was deeply troubled and widely considered to have played a major role in shaping her psychological state and eventual actions. Scotswood at the time was a poor, declining industrial area with high crime rates and social problems. Children of local families were usually allowed to run free and play unsupervised from 2 years old. Mary's mother, Betty Bell, a sex worker, was frequently absent and allegedly tried to kill Mary on several occasions under the guise of accidents. Mary was believed to have been sexually abused and possibly trafficked by her mother at a very young age. Mary grew up in a highly dysfunctional environment. Her home life was chaotic and she often witnessed or experienced violence. From an early age, Mary showed signs of disturbing behaviour, including cruelty to animals and aggressive outbursts. She reportedly displayed manipulative and controlling traits, and she sometimes acted without apparent empathy or remorse. Psychologists who later evaluated Mary noted signs of psychopathy, although others saw her as a deeply damaged child rather than inherently evil. Her actions were seen as a tragic result of extreme early life trauma rather than simple criminal intent. Mary Bell's biological father is not definitively known, and there has been some confusion and speculation about his identity. Here's what is generally accepted. Her alleged father, Billy Bell, was listed as her father and was married to her mother, Betty Bell, who is a habitual criminal, often in and out of prison, and had little consistent presence in Mary's life. It's unclear whether he was Mary's biological father, but he acted as a father figure during her early years. Her mother, Betty Bell, was known to have had multiple relationships due to being a sex worker, which has led some to question the paternity. Regardless of whether Billy Bell was her biological father, the environment Mary was raised in was chaotic and abusive, marked by neglect, violence, and alleged sexual exploitation. Mary Bell showed deeply troubling behaviour even before she first committed her murder at age 10. Many of these early signs, seen in hindsight, were red flags pointing to a severely disturbed child shaped by abuse, neglect, and trauma. Mary was reported to have strangled birds and mutilated animals, such as tearing wings off flies or harming dogs. This behaviour is often seen in children exhibiting signs of early psychopathy or trauma-induced disorders. She was known to bully, intimidate, and physically harm other children, including attempting to choke younger children. In one documented incident just weeks before her first murder, she tried to throttle a young girl, but no serious action was taken. Mary frequently lied and manipulated others, including adults. She could be charming and plausible, but then suddenly cold and aggressive, signs of emotional instability. Mary reportedly expressed an obsessive interest in death, asking other children morbid questions like, "Have you ever seen a dead body?" She also made disturbing remarks about accidents and funerals, sometimes showing a lack of empathy or even glee about the idea of people dying. There were reports of Mary setting fires or breaking into buildings in her neighbourhood with other children. These behaviours are part of the so-called McDonald triad: bedwetting, cruelty to animals, and fire setting, a controversial theory sometimes linked to violent tendencies. Much of Mary's behaviour can be understood through the lens of complex trauma. Experts believe that her extreme early experiences, especially sexual and emotional abuse by her mother, deeply impacted her ability to form normal emotional connections or regulate her behaviour. May 1968, in a rundown inner-city suburb, a little boy goes missing while playing outside his home. His body is found in a derelict house, and although he is rushed to hospital, doctors pronounce him dead on arrival. The police, hoping for answers from the post-mortem on four-year-old Martin Brown, find none. The pathologist could find no cause of death. It would take the death of another child for the police to make the link and come to the conclusion that Martin could have been murdered. The pathologist who examines the body of Brian Howe, tells police that the killers are likely to be children. The police hear from a young boy who saw what happened to Brian Howe. He tells them what he saw Mary doing. She tells the victim that he has a sore throat and gives it a massage. Then she tightens her grip about his throat and doesn't let go. With the violent attacks on her schoolmates, bizarre obsession with questioning the relatives of the dead boys, and her obvious interest in the case, the investigation narrows in on Mary and her friend Norma Bell, no relation. Incriminating semi-confessional notes found at the local Woodlands Crescent nursery, initially dismissed by the police as nonsense, were shown to handwriting experts and are proved to be written by both girls, Mary and Norma. Both Mary and Norma were brought in for questioning. Though there is no conclusive proof, it is thought that Mary is alone when she kills Martin. It was one day before her 11th birthday. 2 months later, on the 31st of July 1968, Mary, this time along with her neighbour and accomplice Norma Bell, would murder again. The victim is 3-year-old Brian Howe. After a walk with the pair, Brian is found on wasteland in a nearby area that locals call the Tin Lizzie. This time, there were disturbing signs and clues to the killer's identities. Mary Bell had carved a crudely shaped M into Brian's stomach with a razor. Cuttings from his hair are found in the surrounding area. The two young killers break into a local nursery after Martin's death and leave macabre messages about the murder. These Daubings use childish language, writing, "We did murder Martin Brown. We murder, watch out, I murder, so that I may come back." When two young boys befriend and later kill toddler Jamie Bulger in Liverpool 25 years later, comparisons would be made between these child killers and Mary Bell. Mary Bell's trial took place in December 1968, and it became one of the most shocking criminal cases in British history due to her young age and the nature of the crimes. She and her friend Norma Bell were charged with 2 counts of manslaughter. The prosecution initially charged them with murder, but the charges were later reduced due to their ages and mental evaluations. The defense argued that Mary was suffering from diminished responsibility, pointing to her troubled childhood, abuse, neglect, and possible sexual exploitation. Court psychiatrists described her as showing psychopathic traits, but not insanity. Norma Bell was presented as a more passive and easily led by Mary. On December 17, 1968, the jury found Mary Bell guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Norma Bell was acquitted. Mary was sentenced to an indeterminate detention, originally in a secure children's home and later transferred to adult prisons as she grew older. Mary Bell spent a total of 12 years at various institutions, including Red Bank Special Unit, where she was the only female offender before she was released in 1980 at the age of 23. Whilst incarcerated, she continually denied being guilty of the killings of Martin and Brian. After her release, she was given a new identity and granted anonymity. In May 2003, Bell and her daughter won a case which gave them anonymity for life. The Mary Bell case was one of the first of its kind. Investigations into her early life, carried out after she was convicted, have been presented as arguments for the reason that she committed the terrible crime she did. Psychology experts now believe that the sexual behaviour she witnessed and was forced to take part in as a very young child may have harmed Mary's mental development, making her unable to feel the same emotions as other children her age. Mary Bell was granted lifelong anonymity in 2003. This decision was made to protect her identity after she had already lived under temporary anonymity since she was released from prison in 1980. The 2003 order made her anonymity permanent and legally enforceable for life, similar to the protections granted to Jamie Bulger's killers. This means that any publication or disclosure of her identity would be a violation of the court order and considered contempt of court. Dame Elizabeth Butler Sloss, president of the Family Division, made the order forbidding disclosure of the current identities and whereabouts of Bell and her daughter to protect their right to private and family life under Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights. She said the case for an injunction was not as strong as the killers Robert Thompson and John Venables, whose lives would have been in danger if their new identities were revealed. But she was satisfied that Bell's fragile mental state and other exceptional factors, such as her age at the time of the killings, justified the interference with the right of free speech. The legacy of Mary Bell is complex and disturbing, shaped by her status as one of the youngest convicted killers in modern British history. Her case has had a long-lasting impact on the legal, psychological and social understanding of juvenile crime. Her trial raised urgent questions about how the legal system treats children who commit serious crimes. The case helped push forward greater emphasis on rehabilitation over punishment for child offenders in the UK. Bell's background, marked by severe abuse, neglect, and a highly dysfunctional family, became central to discussions about the root causes of violent behaviour in children. The Bell case fueled interest in child psychopathology and prompted deeper investigation into the signs of conduct disorder, psychopathy, and trauma-related behavioural issues in children. The case remains one of the most famous in British criminal history. Public debate over whether Bell deserved a platform or sympathy continues. Critics argue it was wrong for her to benefit from media attention or financial compensation from book deals.